To the Benchwarmers podcast. I am Casey Coggins here with Alvin Hebert.
Back with it.
And Andrew Lara.
Hello, hello.
So just to get right into it, let's talk some NFL. I wanted to just kind of go over a little bit of what we've seen this season. It's been a weird, wacky season, which seems to happen a lot with the NFL lately. The division winners right now are not the division winners you probably would have thought at the beginning of the season. There are some teams contending to make the playoffs that you probably would not have thought were going to be contenders.
AKA the Giants.
Well, they're not contenders, and some people thought they were contenders.
Man, they're still contending. I mean, it might be for like a number one overall pick, but they're contending.
They're contending for their own jobs. They're contending for their own jobs at this point.
According to McAdoo.
Do you go for a quarterback or a coach?
Definitely coach. I think the Giants are in a unique position to leverage their power with the top pick if they do end up getting it. And at this rate, they probably will because they just lost to the 49ers.
Called it.
Yeah, I could have called that too. I did in my weekly picks that I do with some people. I don't ever think that you have to have a number one pick go to a quarterback. If you have more holes than just a quarterback, and I don't even think their hole is quarterback. Eli Manning is, not the greatest quarterback in the world.
That offensive line is trash.
He's sustainable. He's not going to lead you to a 13-3 record, but in his career, I don't think they've really ever given him a talented offense. The years that they've won the Super Bowl was mainly based off of the fact that he got hot at the right time. And, Plaxico Burress was towards the end of his career. His career ended because he shot himself in the leg. But, Mario Manningham never panned out. David Tyree's last catch in his career was the helmet catch. Odell Beckham is the best player that he's ever played with on the offense. Or Jeremy Shockey too. He played with Jeremy Shockey.
What about Victor Cruz and his little cha-cha?
He was a good slot receiver.
The south side end zone.
But that's not it seemed to me every time the Giants had Eli Manning, they were so dependent on one receiver. I feel like in their defense being good. So I would try to leverage the first pick into getting as many offensive weapons as you can, starting with that offensive line.
I'll look to trade the number one pick too. You got teams like the Colts. That's probably going to move Brissett for a pick. Or even the Vikings. The Vikings got three quarterbacks that they're probably going to move for a pick.
If I'm the Colts, If I'm the Colts, I don't move Brissett because if Andrew Luck comes back, because at this point even that's still up in the air.
How do we know he's alive?
And
it could be a clone on the sideline.
But
he's in Europe right now.
But with so you don't know what you're going to get out of Andrew Luck when he does come back, if he does come back. And so having a guy like Brissett who has shown that he can play, why trade him? Because you're going to get a pick or two out of him. And I don't know if you're going to get a first round pick. You might get a second and third, which I don't remember what they gave up. I think they gave up Philip Dorsett. Was he in that trade?
Yeah.
So you might be able to get a couple picks to try to help the offensive line when Andrew Luck comes back. But I don't think trading a backup quarterback, is worth it right now. The Patriots held Garoppolo forever because they weren't sure if Tom Brady was going to make it through the season. And they knew how vital it was to have a decent backup quarterback just in case a quarterback gets hurt. Now, when your quarterback is a Eli Manning or Phillip Rivers or Peyton Manning, guys that don't miss games ever, you can afford to have a stinker of a backup quarterback. But when you have a quarterback who you're just not sure of, so a team like the Cowboys
with Tony Romo,
they drafted a backup quarterback who ended up his rookie season taking the starting job because of an injury. I don't think that the Colts should move Jacoby Brissett, but I do think that the team that should probably try to trade around or try to work something out is the Browns. I don't see really DeShone Kizer being a starting quarterback in the league. He can be he might be a Jacoby Brissett where you're not going to win because of him. You're going to win because of a great team effort.
Well, they messed up that whole Kizer thing anyways. Like, they did exactly what I told them not to do.
You talked to him.
I tried, man. I tried to get through to them and be like, hey, don't bench him if he has a bad game. And what they did a little whole musical chairs thing with their quarterback.
Oh, yeah, that whole thing was stupid. And I think the problem with the Browns is they've missed on a lot of draft picks, and they've traded 4 picks. They traded the number 2 overall pick to get more picks in the draft and more players, and they've really tried to do my strategy of how I think is the best way for bad teams to build. Get as many draft picks as you possibly can. And they've missed on every single one.
And it's not even like there's a lottery that they just missed. They just fucking blow their picks.
It's not like the Celtics losing the Tim Duncan lottery. Like, they didn't and ending up having to get, I think they drafted Chauncey Billups in that draft. Number 4 overall when they had the worst record in the league. Like, it's not something like that. Like, they've had the opportunity to get plenty of guys, and I'm not going to go with the Deshaun Watson thing or the Carson Wentz thing or the RG3 thing and all the other things that they've passed on as quarterback wise. You spent a first round pick on Johnny Manziel. If there's anybody outside of Skip Bayless who thought that he was going to be a quality NFL quarterback, I'd like to meet him and punch him in the face. Johnny Manziel was good at being quick and agile, but he is the size of me. Like, he's 5'11", maybe. Like, he's a little taller than I am, and you're telling me that he's going to outrun these linebackers and these cornerbacks and these safeties.
Hey man, Drew Brees can do it.
And Drew Brees is smaller.
Drew Brees is smaller. He has to jump to throw the ball.
Drew Brees scored that touchdown because the defensive backs ran with the receivers running away from where Drew Brees was running, and Drew Brees is a great maneuver inside the pocket. Like, Tom Brady runs like a 5'7" 40. But he's so shifty inside the pocket that you don't really get clean hits on him. Whereas Johnny Manziel's he couldn't throw the ball like Drew Brees can.
Well, if you get a clean hit on Tom Brady, you get flagged for it anyways.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Probably suspension.
But with Johnny Manziel, his arm talent wasn't an NFL quarterback, like a starting NFL quarterback. I don't think he mainly created outside of the pocket. And I just never saw that correlating, corresponding to the NFL. So, the Browns decided that they would rather have Johnny Manziel in that draft than draft any other player that came about. I don't know. I can't remember what year it was that draft was and who was drafted later in that draft. But that's just my point, though, is that they've missed on picks like that. The only person so far that I've seen them actually hit on is Joe Thomas and Myles Garrett.
Joe Thomas.
But
sorry for that.
They don't have receivers. They don't have a running game.
They got Josh Gordon back.
Well, if Josh Gordon wasn't high all the time.
Yeah. The best season that they had was with Derek Anderson at quarterback. and he led them to like a 10-6 record, and they still missed the playoffs because the AFC,
well, it's the
AFC was that good that year. But it was still kind of, it's mind blowing that just kind of a guy like Derek Anderson can lead a team to a Browns team to a good record, going to with the Giants and the Browns and these bad teams. It's just you have to hit on these picks if you're going to do the strategy that I think works best for a bad team to become good. You look at teams who were bad for a while and then started kind of dominating. The Cowboys, they haven't missed many draft picks offensively. Defensively, they
Morris Claiborne,
Terrence Newman. Oh no, he was alright.
He was alright. I mean, Byron Jones was, I think, a very solid pick.
But was he drafted?
The hardline, David Chancellor and Ari Temkin were talking about them and how they pretty much, in the last few years, focused all of their assets on offense, picks and money and stuff. So they're just taking flyers on guys. So Jalen Smith was like, oh, well, he was a great draft pick because he was hurt. And so, like, he still can't. Still doesn't have lateral quickness yet. So
Cowboys also got lucky signing guys without drafting them.
They signed some decent guys.
Yeah, there was a couple of guys that were supposed to go first round. They went undrafted. Cowboys still signed them.
Randy Gregory was a bust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he still with the team? I haven't heard his name in like a year.
Isn't he suspended?
I think that might be what it is. He's suspended. They spent so much on offense, but they did, like I said, they didn't miss a draft pick, and it got them to where, with a full roster, they are Super Bowl contenders. The Falcons, they haven't missed on a draft pick in a long time. Like, think of the guys that they have drafted recently: Matt Ryan, Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman, Julio Jones, Vic Beasley. I think they drafted Deion Jones. They drafted a few of their defensive players. Like, they didn't miss many draft picks recently, and they went to the Super Bowl last year, and they've kind of been in a weird funk this year. But some of the other teams that I wanted to allude to earlier, talking about division leaders, like the Saints, didn't miss on a draft pick this year. Two of their probably top 5 players on their team right now are rookies. Marshawn Lattimore, their cornerback, first-round pick. Alvin Kamara, their third-round pick, running back.
That's Alvin Hubbard.
But they drafted Michael Thomas, their leading receiver, last season. They've drafted linebackers that have become really good. Kenny Vaccaro is one of the best box safeties in the league.
Oh, they drafted him a couple years ago too.
Yeah, he's been there for 6 years now. He was on the UT national title team that lost to Alabama. So for a lot of these teams, the teams that are good don't miss. The teams that are bad miss all the time. And so it goes to scouting and management and coaching these players up. And you look at a team like the Panthers, who have a great scheme, a great defense. They're funky on offense, and that's what plagues them some games. Is their offense just seems to not work, and when it doesn't work, it just crumbles. Like the ground crumbles beneath them. The Steelers are kind of the opposite, or the opposite way, where their offense is usually the part that is sustainable, and their defense has games where they look unstoppable, or they look like a brick wall, and you just keep running into it. But then there are games where you're like, did they really just give up 52 points? What is going on with this defense? So that's why I think it's kind of a wacky NFL season. Is there's so many teams that are just kind of flawed. There's flaws all over the place, and it goes to the old adage of any given Sunday, a team can beat another team.
Great movie, by the way.
Yes, definitely. the any given Sunday thing goes to a great team can be beat by a bad team on any given Sunday just because that's how the ball rolls.
Kind of like The Replacements.
Where
great movie.
Whereas this any given Sunday is just that any team can beat any team any time anywhere. It's just
even in England.
Or Mexico coming up. It's just kind of a funky season to
Everyone's
watch.
pretty balanced
And sucking.
Yeah, it's not a great product right now.
Like the best team in the league, record wise, is the Eagles.
The Eagles,
and
they've
had an easy schedule, and they have a good defense. I don't know if their offense can hold up. There's a guy that I like looking at his analysis of quarterbacks because that's what he gets paid to do and that's what he does for a living, and his name's Cian Fahey. He's Irish, and he's our age, but he talks about he has all these different statistics that he keeps in like an Excel file, and he'll show clips of games about what he's talking about, like with quarterbacks being accurate or receivers just making them look good. And a lot of with Carson Wentz, like he's kind of skeptical on Carson Wentz because there's a lot of times where it's just kind of basic read plays that he just kind of throws it to a spot where his receiver's supposed to be and the defense screws up. Against the Broncos when I think they scored 52 on the Broncos defense. The Broncos just left receivers wide open downfield. So it wasn't that he was a great quarterback. He just had wide open receivers that the scheme might have helped out with. So I don't know if the Eagles in the playoffs are going to beat a team like the Panthers. But I know in the regular season, the Eagles are going to beat you when you make blatant mistakes.
When you're not on your A game.
Yeah, and especially when you're a bad team. So we'll see how the rest of this season goes. I don't know if y'all have looked at the leaders, the division leaders.
You got the Rams, you got the Eagles, Patriots,
Saints.
Is it Minnesota?
Patriots, Steelers, Titans, and Jacksonville tied. Chiefs, Eagles, Vikings, Saints, Rams. Each division is, other than right now the NFC East, because Dallas, we don't know what they're going to do going forward because they have a kind of a tough run of games, and they're not going to have Zeke, which is one problem. If Tyron Smith misses more games, that's another problem.
Lee missing more games.
Yeah, and if their coaching staff doesn't understand how to
adjust,
fix a problem, then the Eagles are going to walk away with that one. But if Oakland can squeeze by New England this week, they're going to they can still contend in the AFC West, but it looks like the Chiefs are going to run away with that. Tennessee, Jacksonville's a 2-horse race. Pittsburgh's running away with the North, AFC North. The Patriots are 2 games up on Buffalo, but Buffalo's trending down. So it looks like the Patriots, Steelers...
That's just Buffalo beating Buffalo.
Chiefs, and Chiefs are going to walk away with their divisions. And it looks like it's going to be like Jacksonville as the 5th team in. And then there's a weird 6 through 10 are teams of 5-4, 4-5, and 4-6. But just going down the stretch, there's still so much football to be played that a team like the Chargers or the Bengals, who are 3-6 right now, they can slide into the 6th seed if they play up to their abilities. The last seed of the AFC playoffs is probably going to be a very bad team.
Yeah, the Dolphins could still make it in.
Yeah, they're that 4-5. The Jets are 4-6. Houston's 3-6. So if Tom Savage learns how to play football, we can see what they do.
Will you teach me how to play football?
Whereas outside of the top 6 in the NFC, then this is outside of the top 6. You have Atlanta at 5-4, Detroit 5-4, Green Bay 5-4, Dallas 5-4, Washington 4-5, Arizona 4-5, and Arizona I think is kind of figuring things out a little bit. I mean, they just playing Seattle's a tough team already, especially with their backup quarterback as a starter. But Drew Stanton has proved that he can at least win games. Green Bay's probably going to fall by the wayside under Brett Hundley. Atlanta, Detroit, if Dallas can keep rolling at all, like if they can figure things out, I just alluded to what they're going through. Washington, they can put up a good game against Minnesota and still lose by 14 or whatever. It's just a funky season that, like, if I was to tell you at the beginning of the season that week 11, your 6 in the playoffs for the NFC was Philadelphia, Minnesota, New Orleans, Los Angeles Rams, Carolina, and Seattle, would you have gotten any team other than Seattle right in that playoff picture?
And Carolina.
Carolina's not even I had them in mind, and I was pulling teeth between the Saints and Carolina, and I was saying before the season started that I thought the NFC South was the best division in football, which it is, because Atlanta's 5-4, and they haven't played up to their standard. And you have New Orleans on the 7-game win streak, Carolina at 7-3.
And Tampa Bay's been a disappointment. Everybody was hyping them up this year, which I was too. Bastards.
It was that Hard Knocks corner. Hard Knocks hard on.
I don't even think I put them in my playoffs at the beginning of the season.
I thought they was going to win the division this year.
I thought they did.
I went with a little homer pick and picked Detroit. I think in there. I think I did. I think I picked Detroit and Carolina as my wild card teams, but I didn't put Minnesota in there. I didn't put Philadelphia in there.
I definitely
nobody thought the Rams were going to be like this.
Nope.
So
especially after last year.
It's a funky season, and it's amusing. Like, it's a fantasy football crapshoot. I was listening to the Bill Simmons podcast when I was doing some housework earlier today, and he was talking about his fantasy team and how his 2 quarterbacks are Jared Goff and Drew Brees. And he was like, in what world would you ever bench Drew Brees for Jared Goff? And he did that this week, and Drew Brees didn't throw a touchdown pass and ran one in, and Jared Goff lit it up.
He put up like 50-something points, I think.
Something like that.
He put up crazy numbers. So it's like, when would you ever think that Jared Goff would be the person you would start over a guy like Drew Brees? I traded Cam Newton for Alex Smith in our league because Alex Smith can put up a bunch of points consistently, whereas Cam kind of was wavering. He would have a good game and a terrible game, and
like 2 bad weeks back to back.
Yeah, so it's been like I said, a funky NFL season. But going on to another sport that started off a little funky, the NBA has had some weird things going on with who's good, who's not good.
Some might say they're Stranger Things.
Your top-heavy teams, the Houston Rockets, Golden State Warriors, Boston Celtics, teams that you thought were going to be there, are your best teams in the league, whereas a team like the Cavs are floundering.
Detroit Pistons are 10-3.
The Sixers look like a legitimate 4 seed in the East. I wouldn't say contender yet, but I mean they have an interesting team. The Thunder, they have not figured things out, and it's still early in the season. There's a part of me that loves the schedule change where there's less back-to-backs and all the further rest days built into the schedule, so you get to watch the best players on a nightly basis because they're not having to be held out because of
bunch of pansies, I think, but all right.
But I hate it because I remember where there were times where I got to watch the Spurs play 4 times in a week.
Yep.
And I got to watch the top teams, like the high-level basketball, on a nightly basis if I wanted to. And I feel like there are some nights where I'm just not interested in the NBA anymore because it's like 2 or 3 games, and the games are like, they're like, oh, well, on TNT tonight we have the Lakers and the Suns. Yeah, cool. Devin Booker can score and Lonzo can pass. But I don't care about either of those teams. Like, they hold no value. I'll watch a little bit of the game just to see, like, keep up with the score and just there might not be anything else on TV or anything else that I have to do. But I'm just not interested in that game.
The whole schedule thing has got me out of whack because I'll be like just chilling at home. I'm like, there is no basketball on.
Right.
And then there'll be times where I'm like chilling at home. It's like, oh, well, there's basketball on.
What I think they've done better with this though is that they do have more. I feel like they have more national games than ever because you have NBA Fan Night on or players only on Tuesday on NBA TV.
You got 2 games every night, Tuesday through Friday.
Yeah. So with national games, like you're gonna have. I think TNT gets 2 nights, ESPN gets 2 nights, NBA TV gets a night, and I think NBA TV also gets Saturdays and Sundays until they start
moving to ABC.
They start putting those on national TV when football season's over. So the NBA has done it in a very smart way. But I just missed watching the Spurs every night, it seemed. It just doesn't feel the same not being able to like be like, oh yeah, gonna go home, sit on the couch and watch the Spurs play like tonight, watching them against the Mavericks. But to go into a little more analysis of the NBA season, after the 0-2 start, the Celtics and losing Gordon Hayward, the Celtics have won 12 in a row.
They won without Kyrie Irving also.
They won without Al Horford. They won a game where they didn't have Horford and they lost Kyrie like in the second quarter or something.
He got elbowed by his own player.
Yeah. So I mean
this is all also without Gordon Hayward.
Yeah. I don't know if I talked about it when we started talking basketball on the podcast, but I know during the draft time I'd watched a decent bit of college basketball. And I watched Duke in the tournament, and I watched Jason Tatum, and I just like, he might not have the upside that some of the other players do, but I knew that he was probably going to be the most ready rookie of the draft class.
Because he had a jump shot.
He had a jump shot. He has length. He has quickness, and he's smart. He has an IQ for the game. And it's not that he just has a jump shot, but he has counter moves, and he's been given a chance to develop. Jaylen Brown again has been given a chance to develop. We've talked about the Celtics and their roster before, and it's just kind of a masterful job by Brad Stevens of being able to figure out what parts can be thrown in which place. And,
now, do you hype up Brad Stevens like? Some people are doing.
Oh, Colin Cowherd says he's the best coach in the league.
He says he's like the Bill Belichick.
Yeah. But and it's weird because he's a Northwest guy. He's from like Washington State, and he loves the New England area. I don't know if it's because he worked at ESPN for so long or what's going on with that, but he has such a love for New England, it seems. But I really, really like Brad Stevens as a coach.
He's a good coach.
I think
that's just it. Like, he is a good coach. You can't call him bad.
And he does do the pop thing a lot, where he overthinks. He outthinks himself. There's been many times in playoff games or crucial moments of regular season games where it's like, all right, well, we have 5 seconds. We have the ball. We're down 2. What kind of play do we want to run? And they're like, okay, well, we're going to run a back pick here. We're going to throw the ball into this guy. He's going to do this, and we're going to get this shot. And it just doesn't work out. It looks like the team just a bad play was called. They overthought it.
I think Stevens and what's the coach for the Wizards now?
Scotty Brooks.
Scotty Brooks, yeah. I think when out of timeouts on set pieces, only those two are geniuses when it comes to like set plays out of timeouts.
Yeah. Oh, Brad Stevens out at what is it? OTOs.
Mm-hmm.
They're superb. And even pop OTOs are still the masterpieces. I remember I was watching some game where it was coming down to the final seconds. We had the Spurs had 2 seconds left and we were down. I need to stop saying we. And the Spurs were down 2, and so they needed a 2 to tie. And they have Manu throw the ball in to Tim Duncan on the high elbow wing area, and Manu just cuts straight down the lane once he throws it in and uses Tim as a rub, and Tim throws his over the head backwards pass to Manu for a layup. And it was you knew that they had been working on this play for so long, and I'd never seen it before from them, and it was just used so well at a time where he knew that it would work. So I think an underrated coach is Eric Spoelstra, and I think he gets a bad rap because he had to grow through so much
LeBron.
He had to go through so much at his early coaching stage that I think it allows him a good perspective on adversity.
And the year that Miami won that championship with Shaq and Wade, didn't Pat Riley came in and
he came in and coached. He would and then Spoelstra took over the year after that.
Yeah, but Spoelstra started the year, and then Pat Riley came and was like, all right, let me take over the rest of the season. Let me show you how it's done.
Actually, no, I think that season, I feel like Stan Van Gundy started out as the coach, and through the season they fired Stan Van Gundy and Pat Riley took over.
It was some type of mix-up like that, but I know Spoelstra was on the coaching staff at that time.
Yeah, because he started out as a video runner
with the Blazers.
And so I think Quinn Snyder is another coach that I think is overlooked a lot, the coach of the Jazz. I think he has a great defensive game plan, and he understands who to get to make sure that his defensive system works. And he struggles offensively. So I think there are a lot of good coaches in the NBA right now. A guy that he always seems to fade in and out of the discussion is Rick Carlisle, because he does the same thing. It's just
the Mavericks suck.
Yeah, his talent isn't very good because they overloaded on old people. Look at the teams like the Heat. When the Heat were good, they overloaded on so many old people other than LeBron and Wade. And once LeBron left, they were like, shit, we have a bunch of old people. If LeBron leaves after this season, is going to be the same thing for Cleveland. Shit, we have a bunch of old people.
And Tristan Thompson.
Telling you the Kardashian curse is for real, bro.
To get back to the players, there are some rookies, and we talked about Jason Tatum. Ben Simmons is putting the league on notice. Even Joel Embiid ended his rookie campaign last season because he actually got to play in enough games to have a rookie season. But this is his second year, and he's putting in work on teams. He just absolutely handled the Clippers last night.
Well, he's yelling out like he can't guard me.
Yeah, to Hassan Whiteside. So really quick, it was Stan Van Gundy coached the Heat from 2003 to 2005, but resigned in the 2005 season mid-season turning the job over to Pat Riley.
That's when they won the championship.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
But Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, like such great talents.
I think Ben Simmons could have Kevin Durant type of game. Long, if he could develop the jump shot.
He's going to end up becoming a poor man's LeBron James. And I only say poor man's because LeBron has put so much into his career. Like, he has such a resume already that I can't say he will become LeBron James, but he can't shoot. That's what I'm saying.
If he develops,
like Kevin Durant didn't need to develop it. He would.
There's a reason he's easy money sniper.
So you can teach a player to shoot respectfully. Like you can teach a guy to go from like a 26% shooter to a 40% shooter, but only when they know what shots to take. But to have the natural fluidity of Kevin Durant's offensive game, that's just natural ability and touch. Carmelo has natural ability and touch. James Harden the same way. Like, these guys, they work on their craft to become better at it and great. But like, Steph Curry is the son of Del Curry, who was a 3-point sniper. Klay Thompson was the son of Michael Thompson, who was a number 1 overall pick. Like, these guys were naturally gifted to do a certain skill, and they just worked on it to hone it. Ben Simmons will have to learn so much to shoot that I see, like, Kobe Bryant was never a great shooter. Like, his field goal percentage and 3-point percentage wasn't very good, and he took a lot of shots, which hurt it. So judging them off of percentage wouldn't be good, but you would want him to be more of a LeBron James, where LeBron James can hit a 3 when he needs to hit a 3, like he did last night against the Knicks. But you don't want LeBron taking 10 threes a game like you want Kevin Durant. So there's a big difference in where I think Ben Simmons has the physical gifts of LeBron James, and so I don't see him ever reaching the stature of LeBron, but he's in that same kind of mold of a 6'10", 6'9", 6'10" physical freak that can handle the ball, great court vision, can rebound, and just...
He's actually making effort on defense, too.
Yeah, and LeBron did that earlier in his career, and he does it now when he knows that he needs to. But I think Ben Simmons had 20, 30 points or something like that the other night, and he had 9 dunks. He had at least almost all of his points on dunks and layups. He's not going to become a shooter, but he can become a great scorer. And another rookie who, has set the league on fire, but just in a media circus way. Lonzo Ball has not really lived up to all the hype that he's gotten, but we were saying it before I hit record today that me and you, Alvin, I don't think you really hyped him up either. Like, we didn't hype him up to be great. Like, we didn't hype him up to be the second coming of Magic or Jason Kidd.
We I thought that was preposterous.
I see a very solid NBA player in Lonzo, and one that I think we were talking about him being the number 2 pick overall. And Alvin, you said that you didn't really think that he deserved that spot and that they should have drafted somebody else.
Well, my main thing was I felt like the Lakers were pressured
forced to take him.
Yeah. And that's why I think he shouldn't really have been like.
There's a little bit of that. I definitely feel the same way, but for the team makeup of the Lakers, you didn't need a point guard like Dennis Smith or Donovan Mitchell or like these high-flying scoring point guards. You didn't need that, because if you needed that, you could have just started Jordan Clarkson at your point guard. You needed a guy who could actually run an offense, and you needed a guy who could pass the ball well. And that's what Lonzo can do. Lonzo doesn't need to score for this team. Lonzo needs to facilitate. he needs to learn how to be a leader. I think there's a lot of nonchalance about him. Like, he's a fairly laid back individual that I kind of think it hurts him right now. I think once he figures it out and kind of realizes how to be aggressive, when to be aggressive, when to kind of keep it back, like keep it cool, slow it down, and once he learns the NBA system, I think the Lakers have a great point guard to have with a guy like Brandon Ingram, who people were saying, oh, well, they should get rid of him. He's not going to be. He was the number 2 overall pick, and they were trying to cast him off. But look at the numbers that he can put up. He's been playing pretty well this season. He's been shooting well.
The thing is, it's not consistent. It's not rolling over because he became the youngest player to record a triple-double one night, and then he goes the other night and...
Can we get over this triple-double hype?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Can we get over that just because it's a coined phrase, like it's something to look for now?
Well, I mean, all these players are making it look easy now.
I blame Ice Cube.
Messed around and got a triple.
I can see that.
No, it is that it went from being such a rare thing to happen to now it's like
the game is so fast.
And its point guards are now 6'4" with 42-inch verticals, and they know that the players like LeBron and the players like Draymond Green and Kawhi and Kevin Durant that can rebound, put the ball on the floor, get up the floor, instead of, a traditional offense where the Spurs usually exist, where you would have a guy like Tim Duncan. He would rebound the ball, and he always wanted to dribble the ball up the court. I don't know if you've heard the stories about him always wanting to be a point guard, but he would always like try to get the ball up the court, and Pop will scream at him, and Tony would come back and be like, "Give me the ball!" Like. Now you have DeMarcus Cousins. He'll take a rebound and just take it coast to coast. And that's why you see more triple-doubles, I think, is because, one, the game's played so fast, and it's played in, like, kind of in late 70s, early 80s style, where it's just, let's score as many points as possible, get as many shots up as possible. So it allows for higher assist numbers and higher rebound numbers. And you have guards who are going in there and attacking the rebounding on defensive rebounds, not necessarily offensive rebounds, but defensive rebounds, because they know instead of having to wait for a big man to pass the ball to get down the court and start their offense, they can rebound the ball, put the ball on the floor, and get into a fast break scenario quicker.
Well, that's why they're able to get into the paint and rebound, because, one, it's not the bigs. They play outside now.
There's more
and
spacing.
Then, a lot of defenses, now when they shoot the ball, you see them leaking out because they don't want to have the fast break offense happening, because it will be the point guard that will get the rebound and look to push the ball.
Exactly. So I think the triple-double has become watered down. It used to be kind of like oh man, LeBron James got a triple-double tonight, let's watch that. I mean, Russell Westbrook, I think, still makes triple-doubles exciting. Maybe not this season, which we'll talk about here in a little bit.
He makes the game exciting.
But he, last year, watching him go and do what he did and put up 52, 19, and 14 on a Tuesday night against the Orlando Magic, hitting a game-winning three-point shot from about 34 feet, you immediately want to watch that. Russell Westbrook triple-doubles are ones you want to watch, because this dude's motor in his ability to just continuously run and jump and jump and run and jump and pass and jump and run and shoot, it's unseen. It's unheard of.
That's a whole lot of running and jumping.
Yeah,
I lost count.
I don't know if that's just one offensive play for Russell Westbrook right there. That's like he's all over the place.
Especially when you got these point guards that are super fast too, like John Wall and Westbrook, that can get up the court in seconds. Like,
yeah, and I mean DeJounte Murray, as we watch the Spurs, like, he's 6'5" and he is lanky. He can fly with the ball. So whenever he figures out his game and how to work in the NBA, he's somebody who goes and crashes the boards and gets out and goes. And he's so fast that it's just all of a sudden, like, the defense is on their heels, and you always have to be wary of when the offensive player is about to get to their spot. Like Steph, he's really good at it. He not necessarily get the rebound. He's not much of a rebounder, but he'll get the outlet pass, and while teams are running back, like, he will see that one player is sleeping. He's just kind of like running back next to his player, and so he utilizes that. He gets the player that guy's supposed to be guarding, and uses him kind of as like a screen, even though they're all running down the court together. And so he starts hiding behind these guys running back, and so you always have to be aware of where everybody is on the transition defense, because these point guards get the rebound and go.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, again, I think we all think triple doubles are a little watered down as far as like the hype stat that they used to be. I mean, we're waiting. I think the new stat that people try to look out for is the 5x5, because
5 blocks, 5 steals.
5 blocks, 5 steals, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 5 points. Draymond Green's done it. I think did it once last year. Kawhi gets close to it a few times a year, and I think that's a cooler stat. And then nobody gets quadruple doubles anymore. So maybe we'll see more of those. Maybe we'll see somebody like Ben Simmons in year 6 just be like, all right, well, I'm going to lead the league in blocks, and I'm going to average 10, 10, and 10 as far as points, rebounds, and assists go. Another team that we wanted to discuss really quick was the struggles of some good teams, mainly the Thunder, and their big three project doesn't seem to really be clicking yet. And a lot of big threes that get together, they don't click very well. I mean, Minnesota right now is sitting in the 5 seed in the West, and I'm only using that as their position as far as record goes. It's way too far from the playoffs to say 5 seed, but they seem to have gotten it going a little quicker than Russ, Paul, and Melo. So I don't know how y'all see it, but I see it as 3 guys that are still a team, just in general, trying to figure it out.
Together. Yeah, it's just.
They're going to have that period. I mean, all of them had that period, especially the Heats when those 3 got together. They were like 9-8 or something like that.
Yeah, I think they were. I think they had a losing record. I think they were 8-9.
Yes, it was something like that. But then where you really want to judge them is when it starts getting to the middle of the season, when it starts getting into the All-Star break, because that's where you see the teams hit their stride, and then that's where you really find out what the teams really are.
I completely agree with that, is that we won't know what they are, but I see one main problem, and I mean, to touch base on what I was saying about Russ last year and his triple doubles, and people were like, oh, see what he's doing with such a shitty supporting cast. Victor Oladipo and Sabonis in Indiana have been playing out of their mind. Yeah. And Doug McDermott in New York has been playing really well. So I didn't think he didn't have a lot of talent, because when the Thunder made the moves they did before Kevin Durant signed with Golden State, they made great moves to make a very good team.
Mm-hmm.
And Russ doesn't elevate other players. And I wanted to run the numbers earlier looking at it. I saw a stat about shot attempts per game and how highly ranked the big 3 for the Thunder are on that. And that was one of the big things about them, was how are they going to share the ball, and how are they going to make this team game work? How's Billy Donovan going to work on rotations, and who's he going to sit, and when's he going to sit them? And the big 3 combine for 52.5 shots per game. The Thunder, as a team, shoot 85.4 a game. So there's 32.9 shots a game that are dispersed to another 9 players. So you're saying that a guy like Steven Adams, who should be getting probably about 7 or 8 looks at like alley-oops and putbacks, and just he should be getting easy points. He should be a guy that you can see averaging like 14 a game just because of how easy the game should be for him with these 3 guys. He's averaging 3.5 field goal attempts per game. Like the rest of the team, if I disperse it evenly, is like 3.5 a game. So they account for 61% of the shot attempts for the Thunder, and I see that being a big problem right now.
Yeah, I had seen one stat line. They were all 3 of them were like averaging 17 shot attempts. Mm-hmm. Like all 3 of them. I was like, what?
Melo's at 16.9, Russ is at 17.7, and Paul George is at 17.9.
Yeah.
Paul George shouldn't be shooting that much.
I think out of the 3 of them, he should be because he's the best shooter. But it's where in the flow of the offense do these shots come. And watching the Thunder games that I've watched, it's back to Russ and Durant, where it's like, here you go, ISO, here you go, ISO. And it's just dribble, 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 and step back jumper. Like you said, there's no flow. Billy Donovan might not be the coach that they need for this team. There might be a guy in Miami who's gone through this that they could probably use, but they need to figure it out. I think they will. I think they realize that they might get to a point where they're, let's say they lose the next 4 or 5 games and they're like 6-10. I think that's when they'll be like, okay, well, this isn't working. What are we doing wrong? Look at film, being like, that's what we're doing wrong, and start working on that ball movement. And it is chemistry. It is, these guys have been the focal points of their offense for so long that how do you learn how to play with this guy? But like, where does Melo want the ball? Where does Paul want the ball? Where does Russ want to bring the ball up on? Like, which side does he like being on? So finding those little things out goes a long way for fixing that team. But I think that should do it with the NBA talk. It's still really early in the season. Most teams are 13, 14 games in, so there's still plenty of games left.
It's early, but you do see some flaws in some teams that you didn't expect them to start out slow.
Some teams are playing just so out of their minds that you expect them to fall back down to earth. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how. We'll keep our eye on the NBA season. And to talk about a sport that we haven't talked on the podcast yet, we had some more World Cup qualifiers. And for the first time since 1958, Italy won't be competing in the World Cup, which is kind of mind-blowing because they've been so good for so long. Like, how does a team like Italy miss out? There's also no United States, which, well, if you live in the United States, you've probably heard.
Not surprising.
Right. I guess the U.S. there would be unsurprised. and then the Netherlands is another primetime team that missed out on the World Cup. And I was saying that when we were going over what we were talking about, like the world stage for soccer has become better as a whole, where smaller countries have become better at soccer just as population rises and as the population rises and the younger generation gets old enough to start playing these sports and they have access to, which I think a lot of it has to do with technology and how the world is, where a lot of people in different countries have more access to playing something like soccer. And teams like Northern Ireland, they almost qualified for the World Cup. And Iceland, they were in the World Cup the last time. And these weird teams that are weird countries that you wouldn't think of being a country that would make it to something like a world competition in soccer. They're surprising teams. I forgot who was the other CONCACAF teams that made it. I think it was Mexico, Costa Rica,
Argentina. Are they CONCACAF? Yeah.
No.
Chile didn't make it though.
Yeah, Chile, they're out, but there's no power in soccer. I feel like Germany has been a power in soccer for so long, and Brazil has been a power in soccer, but I feel like Like those two, they aren't so far ahead of a lot of other countries as far as soccer goes anymore. That when the World Cup starts, it'll be, I think, difficult to pick a team to win it if you fill out like a World Cup bracket. It seems like it'll be more difficult than ever to pick a team that would win it.
Well, a lot of for some, Brazil always will be a favorite just because their talent's always young and real good.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes it never.
And they have a player named Hulk. How could you not like him?
But like teams like in Europe, like Germany, England, those teams usually like show out in World Cups. Like Germany was, everybody knew that they were good, but I think nobody expected them to make it to the finals and win it that one year. Just because they were just like blown by their groups and everything like that.
Oh yeah.
That one year where they won it, like I don't think anybody expected them to be that dominant.
With Germany, didn't they beat Brazil like 7-0?
Yeah, they smashed them.
Yeah, that was
in Brazil. I'm pretty sure it was in Rio.
Yeah, that was real.
In Rio, yeah.
That was embarrassing.
That was soccer has become soccer is an easy sport for lesser developed countries to play,
except for the U.S.
Because I said lesser countries or developed countries. The U.S. is so developed that like it's hard to find somewhere to play soccer. Like
people play soccer indoors.
Yeah.
This argument gets tossed around a lot when soccer and the talent on soccer gets brought up. Like, who would you say, like, if you were to put a name on one person who is the best athlete in the United States right now, who would you say?
In soccer?
No, just athlete in general. Who would you say would be the best athlete in the United States?
James.
Yeah,
LeBron James, right?
LeBron James, yeah.
He plays basketball. We were talking about Ben Simmons being a freak of nature athletically. He plays basketball. The guys that go play football. They go play basketball. They don't play soccer and they don't play baseball. They should play sports that highlight the athletic gifts of these individuals.
Like kicking a ball with your feet.
Like imagine it gets I mean Hakeem Olajuwon started playing soccer and Ndamukong Suh in the NFL, he grew up playing soccer before he started playing football.
Is that why he uses his feet so much?
That's why he's so nimble. That's why he's so nimble.
That's why he likes kicking so much.
Yeah. It's just this discussion gets talked about so many times when the same topic gets brought up is what if you fielded a soccer team of the best athletes in the country, not best soccer players, but the best athletes, like teach these players growing up to play soccer instead of basketball or football. Like imagine having
like an AAU of soccer.
Imagine having Kevin Durant in goal with LeBron James as a striker, these 6'6", 6'10" guys that even throwing out point guards like Russell Westbrook and John Wall, like putting John Wall out there as a striker. That conversation gets talked about a lot. Like if our best athletes were to grow up playing soccer instead of basketball and football, our soccer as a country would probably be the best in the world.
So what we should do is have a World Cup of basketball and then smash on everybody.
Can we do that?
What is that called?
I mean, we could have a World Cup of football, but I think we're the only country still stupid enough to play football.
We're the only ones that call it football.
That's true, too.
Well, you got the Canadian League.
Yeah, you have the CFL. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever watched Australian rules football. That shit is funky. Word of the day is funky, by the way.
They probably just told the guys like it's just like rugby,
right?
With the rules a little different.
That's what Australian rules football is it's played like rugby, just without the scrums and the rucks. concussions is what concussions is what I'm going at.
Not facial damage. You're talking about brain damage.
Yes.
Okay.
It's all because of ESPN and the whole highlight.
I blame Will Smith.
The movie?
Yeah, I thought that was the whole thing, right? He came out with a movie called Concussion about concussions and why football does it. I thought that started the whole thing, not Jim McMahon not being able to walk and remember things.
Dude, that's me every day.
But that's not because of concussions. That's other brain things that you do.
I don't do anything.
I guess that shall end our soccer talk. Going and talking about basketball and football. So we
soccer never wins. It's just like we talk about soccer, and then we like interlude a whole other like football Australian rules and.
Yeah.
Well, because we need more than just a 2-0 win.
I'm fine with that. I'm a baseball fan.
Yeah, what's wrong with a 2-0 win?
I'm not. I'm a baseball fan who loves a lot of home runs.
The worst kind of baseball fan.
The chicks.
The Bryce Harper baseball fan. Make baseball funny.
But let's get into our
Sloppy Toppy.
Our Shiner and Schlitz. Our hot and not picks, and then our bold predicting locks. So my hot for this last week is the Saints run game. Because
what?
They ran.
That's not Drew Brees.
That's all over. They ran all over Buffalo. Like Mark Ingram had 3 touchdowns. Alvin Kamara had 1 touchdown. They both ran for over 100 yards. Drew Brees ran for a touchdown, and they smashed the Bills for their 7th straight win. So you would think that Adrian Peterson ran for 200 yards if they had 300 yards. Like if I was to tell you, oh well, they traded Adrian Peterson and they still ran for all this stuff, like you would be like, no, there's no way. They're like Mark Ingram's a good back, Alvin Kamara is a good back, but they're not going to run against the Bills defense for that many yards. Well, they did, and it was impressive, and it's that type of game plan, and it's their defense stepping up the way that they've stepped up over the 7-game win streak that has a lot of people saying that they might be your Super Bowl favorites. And a lot of people, myself included, would never put them there. I thought they might be a fringe playoff contender. But there was still something that held me back from like seeing them in the playoffs, and now I see them just kind of, they're on a roll.
And the way their defense is playing too.
Yeah, I don't know if that roll is going to stop, because it's not like they're playing. I mean, they had the weird game against the Lions, but for the most part, they handled the Lions. Like, there was a weird end of the fourth quarter that made the game kind of closer. But for 3.5 quarters of that game, the Saints smashed the Lions. Like, these games that they're playing aren't even close. Like, they beat the Panthers in week 3 like 35-13. So they're on a roll. Alvin, who's your hot of the week?
Well, my hot of the week is going to go to my favorite college football team, which is the U. They smashed on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in, like, old school Miami Hurricane fashion. Like, they pulled out the turnover chain 4 times. Like, I feel like if the offense was more like how they, like, back in the day, like, you're not going to get those, like, Clinton Portis and
the Willis
Andre
McGahee
Johnsons and Jeremy Shockey teams, teams. But if they could convert on third downs more often, if they could fix that issue, and if they could fix their red zone issue, I think they'll be a legit national title contender. But I think with this win, it should put them up in the top 4.
They got released. They got moved up to 3.
The college football rankings.
So we got the 3 spot, which I'm cool with. So
Alabama went back to number 1.
Clemson, Miami, Oklahoma.
Alright, so yeah, I'm cool. I'm cool with the 3 spot. As long as it was in the top 4, like, because I mean they're undefeated still.
That's what I said. Like if they beat Notre Dame, I don't think that there should have been a debate that they were in the top 4.
But I mean, they didn't just beat Notre Dame; they smashed Notre Dame. That was not like
that wasn't
it was bad.
Like Wimbush couldn't do anything. Like he looked rattled from the beginning. They stuffed the run, and that running back. He was Heisman candidate, right? The running back.
I have no idea. I didn't realize Notre Dame was actually good this season until people started saying that they were good and they were the number 3 team in the country. I was like, when the hell did this happen? Like, I thought Notre Dame fell off the map when Manti Te'o found his girlfriend.
I feel on the defensive side at least, you do see the old school like early '90s swag with them. I feel like if the offense could kick it up a higher gear, I think they'll be legit.
Yeah, I think that's the case for a lot of the top teams. Is like the Clemson defense and the Bama defense are so damn good that like their offense doesn't have to be great to win. They just have to not turn the ball over.
Yeah,
they need to be able to run the ball, and take advantage of when the defense makes a play, because the defense will make a play for those teams. Alabama's offense, and one of the reasons why I think they dropped down to number 2 behind Georgia for a couple weeks was that Alabama has had kind of a weak schedule, and their offense really hasn't been impressive. It's been mostly their defense and capitalizing, and so it's with all 3 of those teams. Like and then on the other hand, the number 4 team, OU, that's all offense. Like, if their defense can be just good enough, like it's kind of
that's all Baker Mayfield.
There's no complete team, and that's why I think Miami's offense doesn't have to be great. They don't have to like go Jeremy Shockey, Willis McGahee, Clinton Portis, Ken Dorsey,
Andre Johnson.
Those early 2000s teams.
Yeah, great teams, but so we're gonna play Clemson for the ACC title. I think that's gonna be
and that's pretty much who's going to be the ACC representative in the playoff.
Exactly.
And if it's a weird situation with how the playoff race is shaping up, that like. Hell, if Miami loses, but they lose on like a last-second field goal by 1, and it was a competitive game, like who's to say that Clemson and Miami don't both sneak in there, just depending on resume? Because there are some conferences that might not deserve one.
Yep.
Pac-12. I don't think the Pac-12 deserves a team in there. And if OU happens to lose another game, the Big 12
what if Wisconsin goes undefeated?
That's the one, like, but so if we play out a scenario where OU loses, Wisconsin goes undefeated, it's probably Bama, and this is if Bama wins out 2, because they would have beat Auburn, so Auburn would have 2 losses, beat Georgia again, so Georgia would have 2 losses. It would probably remain the same top 3 that it is right now with the Wisconsin team in there. So you could have 2 ACC teams in there, which would be kind of a weird thing that the ACC got 2 in, but that's how Miami's playing. But on to Andrew's hot of the week.
My hot pick, I got Kyle Korver last night against the Knicks in the Garden, putting up 19 points.
Flames out of the fingertips.
Dude, coming back from down 23.
I don't know if you saw some of
Kyle Korver.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw some of the threes that he took, but they were just ridiculous. Like, he like twisted and released the ball underneath the guy's arm, and just, it hit the front of the rim and hit like the top of the backboard and bounced in. Like, it it was unreal watching the highlights of him put up the 19 in the fourth.
But yeah, that was just a great quarter.
No, that Kyle Korver's been pretty strange with the Cavaliers because when I saw that trade happen, I was like, damn.
Yeah,
like the Cavs are going to be like legit, but
the problem is they don't run an offense that suits him because
they hardly even play him either. He's on the bench half of the time.
Well, because they have defensive struggles already, and Kyle Korver is not going to help that.
When he was with Atlanta, he was getting steals.
But that's you can put him on the team's weak point. Like he's just like you have offensive weak points where they put. So you would put him on that. You would put him on Thabo Sefolosha and Andre Robertson and those types of guys. You would put him on a Kyle Anderson from the Spurs. Because if you're going to say, all right, well, Kyle Korver's guarding Kyle Anderson, let's go one-on-one ISO ball with Kyle Anderson. Kyle Anderson's good, but that's not the type of offense you want to run. So even if Kyle Anderson scores, it adjusts things. But yeah, the Kyle Korver thing is he's such a good shooter, and he's always been such a good shooter going back to his days at Creighton. And the Cavs offense doesn't suit him. Like his offense is, the JJ Redick offense, the typical shooters coming off of screens, and what Danny Green is pretty good at is motion offenses, and the Cavs don't run that.
Yeah.
But he definitely was on fire last night, and he was a hot one.
Yeah. Brings me also to my my sloppy pick, my not pick, so to say. Enes Kanter took a big L out that night. On the court and off.
I mean, isn't the saying, you come at the king, you best not miss?
Yeah, he missed.
He swung and missed.
And the king did come back with his counters, including his queen and his princess.
Yeah.
And what was it, the Instagram or the tweet?
The Instagram post.
Yeah, everything is just Enes Kanter. And, I mean, Bron proved it, too. That the guy talks a lot. Sure enough, he's still talking after the game.
Yeah, Kanter's always talked a lot. And, I mean, he's a guy that I always hate when, the Spurs play against him. Because he's a really good offensive talent. And he will stick his nose in there and he'll get under players' skins. And he'll do all the dirty work. That he's the kind of a guy that you want on your team, but you don't like playing, like a Draymond Green, kind of an instigator of sorts. But I think watching the clip of what happened and listening to, everybody was saying that he was taking a shot at Phil Jackson, not Frankie Smokes, as Bill Simmons likes to call him.
And he even clarified that too. He said, "I'm not trying to throw any shade at him."
Yeah, it's like
he just feels real strongly that Dennis Smith Jr. should have been a New York Knick.
Yeah.
He dunked the ball and he's standing there, and he's walking back, and it looks like Frank kind of starts everything by getting into him. Instead of just, picking the ball up and going out of bounds and passing the ball in.
Well, he shoved him twice, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He gave him a little elbow to the ribs a couple times. And then LeBron looks back at him dude, what are you doing? And that's when Kanter was I gotta go defend my guy. and got in LeBron's face. And that's when LeBron escalated it with the shove to Kanter. And the funny thing is that happened, and we talk about Kanter taking an L, but they went on a 53-30 run after that. They were up by 22?
23.
They were up by 23.
And then LeBron and Kyle Korver put the gas pedal on.
Yep, and at the end they finished ahead.
LeBron still missed the 2 free throws to ice the game, but luckily for him, he got the rebound.
I don't know if y'all watched his free throw form on those 2, but he needs to.
Well, he's changed it since they got Kyle Korver.
He's changed it a few times, but he doesn't start set. Like, he gets the ball, he does his, like, ball spin and dribble, and he, like, rocks his foot. His left foot is way back, and he, like, rocks his left foot into it. And as a right-handed shooter, you don't go right foot forward and bring your left foot up. You go left foot forward and bring your right foot up. So I think that might be what it is that his feet are, like, he's goofy style. But Alvin, who's your not?
My not, unfortunately for Drew, we're gonna go back to the World Cup. Italy, Netherlands, Chile, not in the World Cup. They all missed out.
What about the United States, man? I guess that wasn't this week.
We only show up for a couple games anyway.
I guess that wasn't this week. So
it's like the U.S. is like inevitable. Like, there's going to be a time where you just like expect them not to be there because honestly, we suck as a team, and when it comes to soccer, it's not even close.
We don't suck. You stop comparing. stop comparing.
It's not our national sport.
The soccer team to our
I know it's not our national sport. Like, all these other teams, all these other countries, they grow up.
We're like ranked 16 in the world as far as a world team.
Oh, 16 is not enough to get in the World Cup, apparently.
Because you have to play the games and tournaments to qualify.
Exactly, and if you have seen the games, like
they were nasty, they were ugly.
Yeah.
But I think it has to do with a lot of, not the necessarily soccer talent, but the coaching. It looked like they gave up on Jurgen Klinsmann, and then so they fired him, or he resigned, and then they hired, I think they went back to Bruce Arena, and they started off on fire under him, but then they got back to World Cup qualifying, and they just kind of shit the bed.
One, I do think it's the talent. Like, I feel like our farm system, our youth system, it's not up to par to, of course, the rest of the world.
It's not not the same as it is with the girls.
Like the girls, they're top notch.
They don't really do anything else besides cooking and cleaning. So.
I'm not even going to. I don't even know why you said that out loud.
But so for the women's side, it's if you just look on a global standard, like American women and women of other countries, it's obvious that we have a physical dominance over them as far as our women's soccer players goes. And there are some countries that are almost equal, and that those are the teams that give us problems sometimes.
Again, Brazil.
Japan.
But
Japan
and South Korea in women's soccer, physically, they don't contend physically. What they contend with is execution and smarts and heart and all the little things about their team. They're skilled soccer players, but Alex Morgan is taller and faster. Abby Wambach is taller than a lot of these girls, but they execute their defensive plans, and that's what I think. Yes, we just talked about it. The soccer team in the United States doesn't have our best athletes, but we still have really good athletes there, and they might not be as talented. Our top talent might not be as talented as Brazil and Germany and Spain and Italy and France and all these other countries, but I think our team as a whole is more talented than a lot of these teams. But for whatever reason, sometimes the United States team goes into a match with a weird kind of scheme, a tactic. They're like, okay, well, we're going to run this kind of formation, and we're going to want to run through the outsides. But sometimes you have to adjust what your tactic is, if it's working or not.
Well, that's what I liked about Jurgen Klinsmann. He was trying to get his best players to play internationally, because when you look at the other teams in the world, what are they doing? They're playing against other best national talent.
Well, and that's, I think, another problem is that the United States, if we were to run kind of a European system, like UEFA Champion League, it's Europe, and that contends with Bundesliga, La Liga, Premier League, like the three best.
The French league also.
Yeah, and then what is it in Italian? The Italian Premier League.
The Serie A.
Yeah, and so, but if it was the MLS, you're going and playing the Mexican club teams. You're playing like Canada club teams. If you were to just do it on that, so they can't. They have to go and play for those clubs, and that's only getting a few players here and there over there. You don't but then they also play. The countries play against each other over there. The United States plays countries like Panama and Honduras and Trinidad and Tobago. Like, they don't play countries year in, year out like Italy, France, Spain, Germany.
Yeah, the powerhouses.
Yeah, so it's hard. You people say that you become your best when you play the best. So, like, you might lose, like, you're wearing a Jordan jersey. Like, what happened when he was young in the league? He lost, but he didn't lose to scrubs.
He never lost.
He never lost to a team that he should have beat. He never lost to a team like the Cleveland Cavaliers. He never lost to a team like the Portland Trail Blazers. He lost to the Celtics and Larry Bird.
Bad Boy Pistons.
In the Bad Boy Pistons. And I think there was one year where he lost to a different team.
Orlando Magic, but that's when he came back.
Yeah. But I think for his first few years, he mainly lost to Boston and Detroit. And that's why it was such a big... And so he got better, and he became the greatest of all time because he learned how to become that. He learned how to get the best out of himself, and he learned what would work, what wouldn't work.
But that alludes to my point that Jurgen Klinsmann was trying to send his best players to get them to play international, which some of them did. Tim Howard.
Yeah,
He
definitely.
was playing for Everton.
He was playing for Everton.
And he was like our best goalkeeper when it came down.
Clint Dempsey went and played for Fordham.
Like Fordham. And then I think Michael Bradley went out there too.
Yeah.
But you see how the difference of the level of play when they came back to the States after playing in Europe, like, they were a whole lot better. Like, Josie Altidore, he didn't want to go, and he was this big hype striker for us, but he never became what he was supposed to become. Like, they try to get Euro players into the MLS, but they get them when they're on their last leg. Like,
I think that there's a lot that the United States Soccer Association, whatever the actual associations called, they need to work on to get the just the depth of talent, because like I said, I think there's a lot of talent, but you want more players that are talented so that they play against each other and they get better and they grow. To move on from that, my knot of the week is the Cowboys without Zeke and Tyron Smith. Not even without Sean Lee, because it wasn't a defensive thing, because the Falcons didn't blow them out of the water, but they could not move the ball. And I honestly thought about just putting the Cowboys coaching staff, because they... All right, so here's our left tackle. Well, there's a sack. Maybe put a tight end over there. Maybe put a running back over there.
Just put a body there.
Slide your protection left. Chip him. Do something. Double team.
Or hot routes.
Yeah, change up your offensive plan.
You having him dropping back 7 still.
Yeah, run slants, run comebackers, back shoulder throws. There's a lot that the Cowboys could have done, to help Dak and help the team win. And they didn't do it. And it was pretty ugly, and that makes a lot of people question what they're going to do the next 5 weeks. Other than pray to the football gods that a judge will let Zeke play. We talked plenty about football, and so that was just, my nod of the week. But to finish up, as always, our locks. My lock of the week is about basketball, and it's the Philadelphia 76ers. They play 3 games by the time we record next. So by next Tuesday, they would have played 3 games, and they would have won all 3 games.
Who they play?
They play the Lakers tomorrow night. They play the Golden State Warriors, and they play the Utah Jazz.
So you think they're going to beat the Warriors?
I mainly wanted to say they will beat the Warriors, but I didn't think that would be bold enough. And so, the Lakers are the Lakers, and the Jazz are going to be without Rudy Gobert because Deion Waiters dive bombed his knees last night. So I mainly think the 76ers will beat the Warriors. And that's my lock of the week. Book it. 76ers undefeated week. Let's do it. Andrew, lock it up.
My lock of the week is I got Kawhi Leonard coming back from his little vacation.
I almost put that. I got on Twitter before we started recording to try to find information that would talk about Kawhi's injury.
It's not vacation. It's paid time off, bro.
Man, I was... So, really quick tangent, talking about Kawhi. Y'all, and something that we probably should have discussed earlier, what do y'all think about the Martellus Bennett thing? Did y'all
He knew what he was doing.
That?
He knew what he was doing.
I think that's complete bullshit.
Yeah.
And I wanted to...
I think that normally happens
faked
in
an
locker
injury.
room. I don't think he faked it. I think that happens normally.
No.
He backed out of surgery.
I don't think he faked an injury or anything, but there's a point where, how are you going to slander a medical training staff saying that you need to have surgery and that you have an injury that's bad that you can't play, but the doctors say that you can play and they put you out there to play and you feel like you're hurting yourself, and so you slander the Packers and that entire organization, and then you get released and immediately sign and play the next week with Patriots, and you don't have any sign of shoulder injury or anything
he was willing to play when Aaron Rodgers was healthy.
Yeah, and that's
Aaron Rodgers not playing, so he's all like, man, this Brett Hundley guy, we suck with him, so he's like, I'm going to shut it down, and they're like,
so
no.
People were talking about how they don't understand why people are mad that he did it, and I'm only mad that he trashed the Packers after he left.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
But it was, to me, and the reason I brought it up is I thought about it as a Spurs fan, what if Kawhi's not actually hurt, and what if he's trying to kind of force his way out, he's just oh, well, I'm not going to play, and eventually they're like, oh, well, we need to get rid of you so that we can move on from this. And what if Kawhi kind of forced his way out, and then he goes and plays for the Lakers or the Clippers, a hometown team for him, in a team that he wanted to play for? How would we take that? That's why I think sports fans are upset of how Martellus Bennett did it, because if Kawhi was to say, oh, well, I'm really hurt, and then the Spurs, they would never do it with a talent like Kawhi. Martellus Bennett is expendable and he has a history, but it's the same concept of you signed with the team, you decided you didn't like the direction it was going, you got upset, you said the injury was worse than it actually is, then you trashed the organization that gave you a chance after other teams wouldn't sign you. And he has a history. He talked trash about Jason Witten.
Yeah, when he was the one dropping passes.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's all I wanted to discuss when you brought up Kawhi.
Yeah, I have him coming back. By this time next week, we got 3 games. He'll be in at least one of them.
You said he'll be in one of them?
Yeah, he'll be playing.
All right, Alvin, what you got?
I hate to say it, but damn it, I say the Cowboys will miss the playoffs.
Well, we can't determine that by next week.
I know, but I couldn't go off anything else. And
all right, well,
we'll leave that as a.
Who they play this week coming?
Philly.
Yeah, and I put on the list that they're going to lose to Philly. 1, because I don't trust the coaching staff. 2, they suck without Sean Lee. Like, every time Sean Lee's out, like, we lose the fucking game. And I don't think Zeke's going to be out. He even said that he would accept a 4-game suspension, just not a 6-game suspension.
Yeah.
Like, and then Tyron Smith is going to be out for that game also. So, all in all, my lock is that we're going to miss the playoffs, but we're going to lose to Philly also. But mine's the grand scheme of things.
Man, I don't think you get these picks.
I don't think Alvin understands.
What else you want me to pick? There's nothing
lukewarm picks to season.
Well, who does Miami play? Say Miami's gonna beat the next team they play 52-10 or something.
Then you're going to
Cleveland gets their first win.
And don't you say Homer, because my first pick was that the Cubs are gonna sweep the Nationals. I've gone Homer all day with these things.
Yeah, I know. And I'm over here trying to find legit stuff over here, but
well, let's see. We're gonna force your hand on picking something other than something that we can't figure out.
it is something that we can't figure out. It's just not going to be happening in a week.
Yeah, we can't discuss, like Michigan beating Wisconsin and Wisconsin.
Wisconsin's going to smash
Kansas State upsetting Oklahoma State.
That's not interesting.
Kentucky upsetting Georgia. Georgia losing back-to-back games. Kansas at home beating number 4 Oklahoma.
Yeah. Like, no. Those are horrible picks. That's more horrible than my ending season of the Cowboys.
But there's something that we can improve by next week. The Rams play the Vikings. That's a good game.
Alright, I'll say Vikings beat the Rams. Because it's at Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. Show is. Or the Browns could get their first win against Jacksonville.
They could.
They could.
Technically,
that could happen.
All right. Well, we'll keep our eye out on the Cowboys.
Keep an eye on the Cowboys. Right now, I'll go with Vikings are going to beat the Rams.
Okay. Well, on that note,
are you guys happy?
Very much so.
Finally. God.
Finally. The past couple of weeks, my stuff was like Ezekiel Elliott.
He is a person.
Yeah. I had that 3 touchdown game.
Yeah, and that was something we could prove in a week. And
it was actually
a bold. That was a great one.
Balls to the walls.
Balls.
Not Mitch Trubisky having an okay game.
What was yours? The Adrian Peterson one?
The Adrian Peterson, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. So mine have been Cubs sweep Nationals. Adrian Peterson, 100 yards, 2 TDs, his first game with Arizona. Both championship series going to Game 7s. The Warriors having a losing record. And then Miami staying unbeaten. You have had Mitch looks decent. UT upsets OU.
Which I was close.
The Zeke, you were close. The Zeke, 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. Astros being up 3-1 against the Dodgers. And the Cavs losing record. So,
yeah. See?
It's fair. Not bad.
You just you have those couple where it's just like,
And Andrew.
Couple, which one? The only one is
the first one.
Andrew went back-to-back weeks with 49ers getting their first.
Hey, man, if it's not going to be the best team, it's going to be one of the worst teams.
All right. Well,
it's also a trap game.
That wraps up this week. We will talk to y'all next week. Thanks for listening. I am Casey Coggins with Alvin Hebert.
Not Kamara.
And Andrew Lara.
See ya.
See you next week.
We are bandits of a different kind.